What is melodic thrash metal? It may in fact be the definitive metal genre, and yet it has somehow gone under my radar. It was hidden in plain sight. If there is any style of metal worthy of just being called metal without any other adjective being applied to it, it would be melodic thrash metal. The first 4 records by Metallica are indicative of this sound, and the track Master of Puppets sums it up pretty well. Rather than constant fast riffs and shredding guitar solos, melodic thrash metal also includes softer, slower moments with plenty of melody. It also, more frequently, uses cleaner vocals, acoustic guitars, and overall has more prog rock influence. The rest of the big 4 of thrash metal also have melodic thrash in their sound. Megadeth blends melodic thrash metal with technical thrash metal. Anthrax blends melodic thrash with crossover thrash. And Slayer blends melodic thrash with, well, normal thrash metal. Now Slayer is the very definition of thrash metal itself. So I will stress that the melodic thrash metal influence is not so much present on their early releases, but it can definitely be found on Seasons of the Abyss, for example. Testament is a fantastic example of the melodic thrash metal style in its purest form. Possibly the most similar sounding to early Metallica. Creator is another good one to note. While their early material is more straight up thrash, it would be a mistake not to mention them. They also delve a bit into melodic death metal territory. And while we are on the topic of Teutonic thrash, the band Holy Moses blends melodic thrash and technical thrash. So if you've ever wanted to hear a German female-fronted version of Megadeth, you're welcome. Some melodic thrash metal bands changed their style in the 90s, incorporating hard rock into their sound. Examples of this are Metallica's Black Album, Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction, and Testament's The Ritual. I like to call this style metal and roll, or metallic hard rock. This is yet another style of metal that often just gets called metal, but it is a distinct offshoot. Sometimes vanilla is the best flavor. I know some in the audience are saying, stop trying to make metal and roll happen. It's not going to happen. But I am determined to make it a thing. Melodic thrash metal was also instrumental to the formation of prog metal as we know it today. Bands like Dream Theater and Nevermore clearly have influence from this melodic thrash metal style. I have even formerly claimed that these melodic thrash metal bands are actually just prog metal, and while I stand by the fact that there is indeed progressive influence in the sound of these bands, I do think, for simplicity's sake, I will use the term melodic thrash metal from now on, instead of calling these bands prog thrash. I think this label works much better. Metallica is not quite as overzealous with their experimentation as Dream Theater are. In the early 2000s, many melodic metalcore bands took influence from melodic thrash metal, notably Bullet for My Valentine and Trivium, who are both clearly inspired by Metallica. On the more thrash metal side of the spectrum, there's also Lazarus AD. And Shadows Fall. If you would like the metalcore elements a bit more subdued, there's also Machine Head, who blend melodic thrash metal, melodic metalcore, and groove metal together on their trilogy of albums, The Blackening, Unto the Locust, and Bloodstone and Diamonds. Then there's Avenged Sevenfold, who honestly have a different sound on every record. However, I would say that they mostly mix melodic metalcore and metal and roll. That said, I think there's also a good argument for melodic thrash metal influence as well, on certain tracks. '80s retro throwback metal also tends to have melodic thrash inspiration. Black Tide is an example, blending the style with glam metal. The resulting sound is somewhere between Metallica and Motley Crue. Maybe some Iron Maiden in there as well, but then again, all melodic metal can trace back to Maiden. Some other bands that have delved into melodic thrash metal at one time or another are Death Angel, Iced Earth, and Overkill, who infuse it with power metal. Sacred Reich, and Generation Kill, who combine the style with both groove metal and crossover thrash. I know this video will outdate some of my former videos, as I have described many of these bands as prog metal. However, I think that this genre makes sense after some reflection. I stand by the fact that most metal bands are comprised of more than one style. However, when it gets to a point where you are describing a band with 4 or 5 or 6 genres, there is probably a more simple label that you can use. Instead of saying that Metallica is thrash metal as well as prog metal, it's now just melodic thrash. That saves the trouble of needing 5 different labels in order to describe Machine Head, which does seem a tad excessive. I know many will decry the use of labels to this degree, but as someone who is obsessive and passionate about what I like, I can safely say that the mere label of thrash metal is insufficient, for myself at least. Metallica sounds quite different than Exodus, which is distinct from Watchtower, which is not the same as Demolition Hammer. I can say without question that melodic thrash is the sound I love the most. And if we just call all of this thrash metal, then people are just gonna make their own binary of good thrash and bad thrash. If death metal has all these same variations, why not thrash metal? The only one that's missing now is a thrash equivalent to slam death metal. But isn't that just groove metal anyways? Our occulturation continues.